disaster management centers, fishery research centers, all those new centers we also created for reconstruction purposes. As I mentioned, so faculties, all of the faculty, in order for the faculty to create new educational programs, we developed the fishery, the department of the fishery. We didn't have a fishery department at all. So this time we established the fishery department because of the coastal area. As you know, the oysters and sea urchins and a lot of sushi materials you like, they come from here. So all those materials we really need to be created by having a research centers and also the department. Also graduate school, we established department regional innovation and management. That's another way to develop our youngsters to get involved with the reconstruction work. Of course, disaster management issues also included inside of this program. So we created in Rikuzen Takada Global Campus, which is the facilities that we provide, the number of number of these universities can use these facilities for their own programs. So at this moment, we have Harvard College. They come to Takada to do the internship. Also, Stanford University, they use this. Hong Kong University, Singapore National Universities, they actually come to Takada to have their research programs. So, number of students also spend the time together with local people to identify the issues, for that their local community developments, they actually go through that. So, another was, since the disasters or natural disasters is always local issues, but we want to use this local issue to be, issues of global issue too, because it's not going to be only sticking into the only local. This is there are a number of common issues, so that we want to share our lessons learned together with, like here, so that global common issues is also is local issue too. Like Puerto Rico, we've been talking about always in this past 2 days. It's a regional issues, but it becomes like a global issue too. Same thing, like all of the local issues become global issues. So that there are interaction between local and global. That's what we call global. I know this new name. Maybe Japanese, English. So, so last year we organized a global conference on international network of disaster studies. The Professor Stearn, sitting here in front of me, was participating to that program, and so that was that's the reason why I'm probably be invited to come over here this time as a reciprocity, I think. So this is that we actually had a number of the scholars and the researchers come to Morioka in Iwate University to discuss about the disaster management issues. Not only US, but also a number of other universities from China, or from Europe, from India, and Southeast Asia. A number of the scholars came here to join and share their experiences. So, so now we are working on development of the sustainable development side, because all of the reconstructions or work and recovery work is also the working for the communities, and so that's the sustainable development goals stated by United Nations, we are also targeting into the to that SDGs goal. Based on that, disseminating all of the classworks or curriculum being identified at which goals that they are actually targeting to. So, so these 17 goals and 169 targets are introduced into the curriculum right now. So we're working on each faculties actually their programs and courses which 17 goals this program actually apply to. So those type of the working, adaptation of the sustainable development SDGs has been used. So like this. In conclusion, we continuously provide the faculties of expertise to the reconstruction work, as well as develop the education programs and academic research through our continued support to the reconstruction and development of the area. And this will be also shared with the researchers and practitioners, academians, in not only Japan but also the rest of the world. So that's our target for this. That is why I'm here to present this time. Thank you very much.
Ishmael, if my alphabetizing ability is correct, I think you're up next. Before we switch over, though, I want to correct a serious oversight I made at the beginning. Eric Stearn from the University of Albany is here with us, and Eric is co-organizer of this panel. So please, thank you so much for Yoshi's reference reminded me I was remiss in not introducing you, so thank you.
Well, before we begin, thank you very much for being here. Thank you to the university for hosting us here, and on behalf of our people, thank you for caring. I think this is very significant to us. We live the disaster every day, not only during the hurricane, but every day after that. We're gonna talk about capacity building, one of the topics that is in the main topics in this session. I'm not going to talk about what we're going to do. I'm going to talk what we are doing. We began working in natural disasters in the 80s because we are very aware of our exposure, our risk, our hazards. And I think the first conference we organized was in 1987, Rescue of American Infrastructure, which we brought to Puerto Rico, all the Americas, and we host a conference just to make sure that we could identify the research needs and educational needs. In 1989, we organized a project, a conference in terms of the impact of natural hazards and the infrastructure of Americas, and we did also exactly the same. Our curriculum has been, in the civil engineering department, have been built around natural hazard, accidents, and civil infrastructure. That's our life. That's what we live every day. And I'm going to give you a very important information. 98% of the engineered infrastructure in Puerto Rico didn't fail during the hurricane. But we have a huge amount of not engineered, kind of additional infrastructure which actually failed. But remember, anything for a person that has a need, anything that's important. That means if they are living on the retreat, that's their home. And we need to be very sensitive to that. I want to thank you, the Coastal Resilience Center of Excellence, which has been the main sponsor of our efforts since 2 years before Hurricane Maria. I think they knew something was going to happen. They didn't tell us. And their main mission is to improve the social, infrastructural, economical, and natural environments. And that's a resilience toward natural disaster and coastal zones by conducting research and education, and we should bring this to the community. It's not only for students at the university. But our project at that time, it's focusing on education, and that's mainly capacity building. Our project is education for improving resiliency of coastal infrastructure. And our main objective is just to host formal and informal education. That means that we have our students and the community together in our training, our workshop, our courses. Well, since we have a very short period of time here, I have to put everything together. I don't want you to read everything, but this means that this is a very complicated and complex problem. We can only highlight the multi-hazard nature of our sites in Puerto Rico, going from hurricanes and landslides and floods and coastal flooding and tsunamis, on top of those technological hazards that we are responsible to build up. To the right, you see all the impacts that the hurricane had on us and all the infrastructure. To the left, you see some examples of thousands of pictures that we have collected after the hurricane. But it's very important that Hurricane Maria left a legacy to all of us. First of all, about $90 billion in direct or indirect damages, which is huge. And secondly, and more important, about 3,000 lives lost. And that's extremely important because everything that we do is directed toward toward living things, humans, flora, and fauna. That's very important because if those were not here, we don't have to do anything. And in this case, our long-term objective is just to impact the economic development, the social well-being, and the environmental quality, but also based on sustainability and resilience. This is a model. This wasn't built, this wasn't designed after Maria. This was designed when we submitted the proposal to CRC. And the main objective here is that we want to provide education, formal and informal, engage our stakeholders, and develop a workforce. We need to bring education to the people. And the only way we can do it is just to make sure that we respond to the Department of Homeland Security, the Homeland Security Enterprise Educational Gap. And that's what we want to intervene and impact. But we begin with our goal that this is to help educate the community through formal and informal education and to bring technology transfer and knowledge to the people, all levels, because Maria proved that we always need to learn, we always need to develop. Our motivation is to engage our stakeholders, in advancing the state of knowledge, and to make sure that we use it. And then, who are our target stakeholders? Almost everybody. I've been criticized because in the same room that we teach very technological things, we sit the community. Because we need to get from them the response, what they need. Because we can go so sophisticated that I have the experience. I went to the National Hurricane Center once and they showed me the 4-dimensional model. And I asked them, how do you calibrate this model? They told me, we cannot. I asked them, how do you predict how much rainfall is coming from a hurricane? Well, they told us, we take a variable, divide by the constant, and that's it. That was the model, but that taught me a lesson. We need to make decisions. Of course, technology and models are extremely important. We need to develop more in research. Our formal education, we've been impacting our graduate courses, undergraduate courses, but you all, well, many of you come from the university. I'm in a university that's very difficult to change the curriculum. Civil engineering has 100 credit hours requirements. Changing one credit, one course, it takes forever. That's our nature. We need to impact the curriculum right away, what we did. I called those professors who didn't have much to do in research. I asked them to come over, taking advantage of being the director, why don't you join us and bring something into your courses? And that's how we began. And then we began engaging our faculty right away. No plan, no model. They know how to do it. Just switch. I had a professor teaching rehabilitation of infrastructure. We switched it to rehabilitation of coastal infrastructure. He right away engaged a group of students and began teaching rehabilitation of coastal infrastructure. He was learning by himself. He was teaching at the same time. That was important. Then we have informal, we have thesis on the graduate research, special problems. I don't have to wait for anybody to impact the curriculum, to impact the students. And then the professors, once they got involved, they wanted to write proposals, and then they get involved in research. And I don't have to follow them. They are all by themselves. They're entrepreneurs in terms of the educational enterprise. Then we have the informal education. Well, in the formal education, we have conferences, workshops, seminars, lectures, short courses, and we call something we invented, remember, we speak Spanglish. And we invented this word, you cannot find it anywhere, conversatories. Those are panels, but we call it in Spanish conversatorios, which conversate. I don't know why this is missing in the dictionary. But the Homeland Security allow us to use it with some identification there. But you see, this help us gather the whole community, a diverse community, from people in the government, decision makers, professors, students, people from the municipalities, everybody who needed and wanted, they are there. And we are together. And everybody speaks their language. We respect that. Remember, this has to be the diversity. It's one of our priorities at the university, at the Homeland Security, at the center. But we need to make sure that we work with respect, with values. And we have to value the people. We have to value their differences, our differences. I always say, let's our differences put us together. And that would be much easier. And of course, when we work with natural hazards and disasters and people need it, we're talking about our most needed people. Those are the ones who you have to resolve the problems. And we're talking about dignity. And we have to respect that. And you have to be sensitive. In our departments, what we do, our vision as civil engineers and surveyors are people serving problem solvers. Then we can build up from there. Then our main objective is to have developed an education culture in resilience coastal infrastructure. And that's what we call the RCI. And this is more or less the model, 2 years before Maria. But 500 years when this should happen, when Christopher Columbus came to America. Well, I don't want to go into the cycle, but this cycle we've been developing since we began in the project. It was like 4 blocks, but now, if you see here, this is where an extreme event occurs. And we need to do several things before the event, and we have to do so many things after the event. And we need to be prepared. And this is where we get our index to develop our coursework, our research work, our special problem, our service underworks, and we begin just understanding the phenomenon. And we go to elementary schools, and junior high schools, and high schools. And Tom was telling me, we gotta be careful. We cannot go to elementary school. All these kids get afraid of all these natural hazards. But they get so enthusiastic about understanding the phenomenon. You see, that's the way we buy them in. And it was interesting, because I was presenting in a elementary school, everything that has to do with floods. And there was a 5th grade student who was using very technical terms. And I said, where did you get that from? Well, we discuss this at home. That's important. That's the first place we need to become resilient individually, your household, your community. And you see, sometimes we try to come from the top to the bottom. It doesn't work. Go the other way around. Because we found after Maria that there are so many capable people in the community. They have never been trained. They have never been educated in just formal education. But they are creative. And they discover so many solutions that we were learning from them. And that's extremely important. We have to respect that. And I'm going to tell you a story, if I have time. I'm going to take one example. We took capstone course. Capstone course requires almost every skill that a civil engineer should have before they graduate. You see what? Oops. We began asking our students to found a company, to develop a feasibility study, to develop a conceptual design. Now the creative process begins. Then the preliminary design, that's where the civil engineering comes in place. The final design, plan specifications, other presentations. They have to do 5 during the semester. And then we design a model coastal urban cluster. But if you look down here, we take a local site. We ask them, we put 10 students per company, 5 professors, and 5 graduate students. Actually, we had to reduce that because the university has some financial restraints. Now I have only 1 graduate student. We can do it, of course we can. Then we develop a feasibility study and sustainability evaluation. But it's not economical. It's legal, political, social, cultural, environmental, technical, and economical. And then we trade off among all those objectives or constraints. And they have to develop a site development, environmental evaluation, transportation evaluation, water and wastewater, geotechnical, structural, and architectural. All considering sustainability and resilience. I'm going to give you an example. This is the model for the capstone course, every semester. Well, we took a nice community nearby. These are the hazards that expose flood hazards. They're in the coast. They are like 3 feet up above the water level, the seawater level. When in 100 years, I'm pretty sure they will be almost underwater. But you see, we tried in combination, well, with what we learned from our partner, Gavin Smith, Dr. Gavin Smith from the University of North Carolina, and now North Carolina State University, we said, why don't we try to take a community and do a buyout relocation project? Just for the fun of it, because we're not going to do it right away. It has so much social implications. What we did, we took a place, we brought our students there, they did all the social evaluation, interviews and everything. They evaluated all the flood hazards and risks. This is a second community, 31 students. We asked them, why do you take a community without much resources and develop an urban cluster? Well, they use a mixed-use project, commercial offices and housing, such a way that they can have a motive to move from there to the other place. It's nearby, just moving from here to the corner. Then all the hazards, coastal and riverine floods, wind, earthquakes, soil instabilities. Then the objective was flood relocation project, adjacent to the neighborhood. Just there. Now, this is what they came out with. They took the whole coastal area, this is where the area was. Well, this is the bay, Mayagüez Bay. And they developed low impact development alternatives in front of their yard. They built high-rise a building. They raised their first floor just in case of tsunami. And they developed a whole cluster not only to get away from hazards, but just to live a better life. Well, these are some examples of our outcomes. There are 3 students who participated, what we call the capstone course. They presented one of these projects. They won a 3rd prize, some money too, 2018. We have another one. These were part of the CRC initiative. They went to Oregon State. They presented their research project. They won the 2nd prize and some money too. Now he's studying his PhD in this area, and he's moving to his PhD next year. Well, these are some of the things that we have, our outcomes. We have impacted about 800 participants, that's not including all the students in the courses, and a total 3,000 hours of contract time of training. And we have our conversatories, and we have, the most important thing is to see the community, the government, professionals, students, and faculty, all in the same place. Well, this was last week. We organized a one-day conference, one-day workshop, one-day field trip to one of these areas that we studied in the workshop. And we have some educational challenges which turn to be our opportunities. Multi-hazard exposure. That has to do with economic, social, and educational limitations. There's space for everybody in terms of research, education, and service. We need to direct this to a diverse educational community, integrate and engage everybody. We need to resist, there is a resistance to change. We need to work with that. We have to have a transition from a well-established traditional educational culture into one focus on experiential learning. This is one of the most critical things I have faced in my life. Usually people do not know how to play the roles. We need to learn how to play our roles. You see, I went to the radio, I criticized something during Maria. I had to, because the mayors were distributing water. They spent most of the day distributing water, and then during the night they went to the radio and announced it to everybody. That's not their job. See, we need to make sure that our roles are within our expertise. And I think we'll be more efficient with that. And then, we are called to provide guidance at the university. Guidance, resources, and tools. Actually, we worked, some of the things that we did was just to engage with different initiatives. And there are two particular initiatives there, and I think we're going to share that with you. This is two things that came out. One is Keep Safe. It's a publication that was developed with many participants. Ricardo and I participated there, and it's out already in Spanish and English. It's a guidance to deal with resilience for the reconstruction of Puerto Rico. And those are the things that we've been doing, and we can share that with you. This is a group of students, professional faculties, and consultants that came last week for the workshop that we developed. Actually, this is the capacity building official from FEMA in nearby office. They are here working together. This is my associate director. He looks like a freshman there. This is the group. Part of that group, there is the National Science Foundation project called Rise Up. We are senior participant there. So we developed what it's called a minor in sustainability and resilience. Well, they are here with us. And we are under the bridge here. The water during Maria went all the way to that beam. And if the water comes out of here, it's in the middle of the whole time. And well, if you read what is up there, actually I shared this with some people yesterday. It reads, this has been one of the best workshops I have participated. Beyond education, it was particularly enlightening, especially the different perspectives and arguments that were presented and discussed by high caliber experts on conventional versus nature-based and combination of solutions for flood management and mitigation. My understanding of how both can work in tandem was greatly broadened. This is summary of what he's working in research in a company, and he participated with the students. And this is the kind of response we get. Well, we get motivated. I think we are getting our objectives done. Well, I would like to acknowledge our sponsors, and some questions will come sometime.
Good morning, everyone. This morning in the opening plenary session, one of the things we heard from the speakers was related to how vulnerable our infrastructure is and how vulnerable our environment is. But I think what we have heard this morning is exactly how powerful people are and how powerful we are. And I have been really moved over these last 2 days with the conversations that have been happening here, and am so aware of what a privilege it is to be within a university context and to have this possibility for this partnership and to have this possibility to have this conversation. And so I really want to thank Eric and Tom for organizing our session. They asked us, given our topic of really focused on tapping the potential of the next generation, to think about what is it that's happening within our organizations and institutions that may allow us to further this vision. And I just really want to acknowledge what we've heard, the powerful stories we have already heard, but also who is in this room. Each one of you are doing such incredible work. And so I hope that this session can spark those interconnections and those discussions. And so just very briefly, I think it's appropriate that Trisha and I are the last two speakers. So Tom said Trisha's going to be batting cleanup, and I don't really know that much about baseball, so I don't know what the person before the person who bats cleanup, but it's only appropriate in some ways, the two of us closing this off with some brief remarks and then some conversation, because the Disaster Research Center is actually the oldest. It was founded in 1963, the oldest social science hazards and disaster research center. The Natural Hazards Center is like the little sister that's always following in the footsteps, and I feel that a lot. We were founded in 1975 at the University of Colorado Boulder, and the Natural Hazards Center is the nation's National Science Foundation designated information clearinghouse for the societal dimensions of disaster. And so what that means is every single day that our work is really organized around 4 pillars: translating and sharing information, facilitating connections, advancing new social science and interdisciplinary research, and training and mentoring a diverse next generation. And so that today, when Tom invited us to reflect on what are we excited to speak to today, what I wanted to just share with you very briefly